Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we will discuss internal control. Specifically in this session, I will discuss what is internal control and what is the purpose of internal control. That's it. Basic definition and the purpose of internal control. Now, internal control is a very important component of the audit. Matter of fact, it's part of the audit risk model, which is inherent risk times control risk times detection risk. So the control risk is based on the internal control of the company. This component here is important. And at some point, we will discuss the relationship between the control risk, the audit risk model, the control risk, detection risk, control risk, and inherent risk. But before we dive that deep into the control risk, we have to understand what is internal control. Internal control is composed of 5 components: control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring. And guess what? We are not going to discuss any of these components today. Why? Because I need to devote one session per component. It's that important. But here's what I want you to keep in mind as we go through this. I give this analogy. The internal control is like a fort, the fort that you're seeing on your screen in front of you. A fort, what is the fort for? The fort is a form of protection. What is it protecting? Think of it, it's protecting, inside this fort lives our accounting information system. And part of our accounting information system, our record, our transaction, our activities, our assets, everything is inside this fort. And the role of the internal control is to protect our accounting information system, protect its integrity. Protects its integrity from what? From errors. We really don't want to have errors. And fraud. We want to make sure that people cannot easily commit fraud. Why? Because we have procedures, policies, protections, and this is what internal control is. The purpose of it is to protect us from errors and fraud. Now, what's error? What's fraud? Error is a mistake. Someone make a mistake because they misapply instruction. They did not understand what they're supposed to do. Okay, that's fine. We need to protect ourselves from that. Also, fraud is when someone is trying to commit a crime by hiding something from the financial reporting process, by stealing assets from the company, by issuing financial statements that are misleading, so on and so forth. So this is the role. This is the purpose of the fort. Now we're going to discuss a little bit more in details. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, FarhatLectures.com. Most students and CPA candidates struggle not because audit is too hard, but because it's taught fast and the logic behind the procedure isn't explained clearly. Then everything feels disconnected. At Farhat Lectures, we break audit down step by step. We explain the why behind the standards, the logic behind the assertions, risks, procedures, evidence, so the whole process finally clicks. When the concepts connect, audit becomes clear and manageable. You stop memorizing and start understanding. Ready for auditing to make sense? Start your free trial at farhatlectures.com. The first thing I want to clarify is whose responsibility? Who's responsible for the internal control? Guess what? It's the management. So people that work at the company are responsible for the fort. Management responsible for designing, implementing, making sure it's working properly. It's the management responsibility, and this is very important because many questions on the CPA exam, if you understand who's responsible for the internal control, you can answer them fairly quickly. The same thing with the financial statements. They're responsible for the internal control. They're responsible for the financial statements. Who they? Management, not the auditor, to establish and maintain internal control and prepare financial statement. So Key aspects of this role include providing reasonable assurance and understanding inherent limitation. So what we need to do is we need to understand that internal control is not perfect. It only provides reasonable assurance. What's reasonable assurance? A high degree of assurance that material misstatements are not easily slipping through the system. Let's put it that way. And understand that internal control is not perfect. Even the best internal control will have inherent limitation. Matter of fact, we're going to discuss the inherent limitation of internal control in a separate recording, because we need to understand inherent limitation is embedded in internal control. People are people, make mistakes, they get lazy, they don't follow instruction. So even with the best internal control, we cannot guarantee 100% protection. We can only guarantee reasonable assurance. Now, what's the purpose of internal control? We talked about it, but let's go through it immediately. What's the purpose of internal control, and what is internal control and the purpose of it? Internal control are simply policies and procedures. What is that? They tell you how to do things, what to do, what not to do, what you are allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, how to process a transaction from A to Z. We have procedures, policies and procedures set by who? You know it, management. To achieve what? So what's the purpose of internal control? Simply put, policies and procedures. And if you work, if you ever got a job, one thing that they do first day at your job is they give you an employee handbook. That employee handbook is part of the internal control. They're telling you what is your responsibility, what you can do, what you cannot do. But the purpose of the internal control overall for the whole company is to achieve few objectives. One is reliability of financial reporting. As auditors, as accountants, this is our main concern. Our main concern. It doesn't mean our only concern, our main concern. Two, efficiency and effectiveness of operation. Three, compliance with laws and regulation. Anything that deals with laws and regulation that's affecting the materiality of the financial statement. It's affecting the numbers. And four, safeguarding of assets. Now, inserting literature, you might see safeguarding of assets as part of efficiency and effectiveness, but in most college textbook, CPA exam, they list safeguarding of asset separately. But according to the framework, the COSO framework, which we'll talk about later, it's a subheading. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to treat safeguarding of assets as the fourth purpose. And guess what? Every time I have a list, I'm going to go over each item in this list separately. But the list here that you saw, don't worry, I'm going to get to it in a separate recording, those lists here, because those would require a separate recording for each one of them. But for today, I'm going to go over the four different purposes of internal control, starting with, you guessed it, reliability of financial reporting. What's reliability of financial reporting? Basically making sure that the financial statements that we publish, that we issue, provide true and fair view of the organization. They're in compliance with accounting standard. In the US, they are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principle internationally. They're in compliance with IFRS, reliability of financial reporting. Why? Because other parties, outside parties, rely on these financial statements. Like what? Investors. Creditors. Who are investors? People that invest in the company. Creditors, people that lend money to the company. Regulators, the government, and the general public. They want to make an informed decision. Therefore, as auditors, our job is to make sure the internal control is working properly. Now, it's the management set it up, but we have to kind of pass a judgment on it. We're going to see how later on. They want to make an informed decision. Therefore, we have to have a system. We have to have a fort that's going to protect the integrity of the financial reporting. Now, how to achieve this? When we say integrity of the financial statement or reliability of the financial reporting, what do we mean by that? Well, for one thing, when we report numbers, they have to be accurate. Information in the financial statement should be free from material misstatements and errors. We don't have major mistakes that could mislead people. Two, completeness. All relevant financial information should be disclosed to present a comprehensive view, not keeping anything out by the organization financial situation. So don't keep any liabilities of the balance sheet. Don't hide any expenses. Don't hide any lawsuit. Completeness. Three, neutrality. Financial reporting should be free from bias or any attempt to manipulate information to favor certain interest groups like investors versus creditors. When we present the information, for the information to be considered reliable, it should not favor one group over the other. What do I mean by that? For example, investors, they would like to see that the company is making profit. They're happy with that because they're investors, they own the company. On the other hand, creditors, they don't really care about profit. They really care about the liquidity, the cash flow, make sure the company can pay them their interest and their money back. So when we present the information, we should not show a different picture, a biased picture, one way or the other. Be neutral in reporting. Transparency, and all these are interrelated. You cannot be, if you're not completeness, it cannot be neutral. If it's not accurate, it's not complete in a sense. And they're all interrelated. Transparency is important. Disclosures tell us everything that we need to know about the company. It should be clear, comprehensive, which is complete, understandable. People that read those disclosures understand what you are telling them, to provide sufficient information for the users, investors, creditors, regulators, public at large, to make an informed decision. Also, we want to make sure we are consistent. Accounting policies and practices should be applied consistently from period to period. Why? To facilitate comparability. If I'm looking at a company and they switch their accounting policies from period to period, it's very hard for me to know how well or not well doing if they keep changing their inventory method, because that's going to change their cost of goods sold. That will change their profitability. If they change the way they account for revenue, that's going to change their revenue. Why? Because they changed the policies, the way they account for it. Therefore, one of the objectives, one of 4, is reliability of financial statements.